Hello, everyone, and welcome in. Happy Monday, happy lunchtime on Labor Day Monday. My name is Bryce Koon. You're watching Swarm Talk at lunch here on Monday. We're going to try to figure out this week's schedule in terms of live streaming. Labor Day throwing it off, the college football season throwing it off, and frankly, a late night in Clemson, South Carolina for me on Saturday threw the schedule off. So no show last night, but we're rocking and rolling. 2 live shows today, this one right here at lunchtime, and then we're giving our reactions and takeaways of week 1 of college football tonight at 7:30 Central. So make sure that you get in on that. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe there as well. You are watching Swarm Talk, brought to you by the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
All right, we're live here on a Monday. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. As you can see by the title, we're getting ready to hate on Georgia Tech. No, listen, let's open the show like this. Georgia Tech's the greatest team in the world. Best team to ever take the field. We apologize to the fans that are offended by our analysis. We just want to go out there and say that nothing is ever done wrong by this coaching staff. This is the greatest coaching staff in the world. This is the greatest program in the world. This program has more money than Ohio State, Texas, and Oregon combined. Phil Knight cannot compare. And Georgia Tech has never done anything wrong, ever. Their student athletes never misbehave, and it gets swept under the rug. They don't ever do things wrong and get held out of practice or suspended for quarters. Brent Key has never made a wrong time management decision. And we will never question any decision-making because this is the Georgia Tech Athletics Podcast. So there we go. There we go. That's for those people. It's amazing. It's awesome. Hey, look, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate it. And this is why we do this, by the way. This comment right here. This is why we do that. This is why we just spent 25 seconds talking about that. Because yeah, man. I mean, has to be exhausting it's either got to be exhausting to do 2 things. And if you can do 2 things and you're being exhausted, I mean, that's tough. That's tough. So I do applaud the amount of effort people put in to try to make themselves believe that we hate Georgia Tech. And then 2, I also applaud, I'm the bewilderment, Ralph, that I have of people just continuously not watching, not understanding context, or the inability to just think that, to have victim mentality constantly is awesome. So welcome in. We appreciate you. It is awesome. It is awesome. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Like it, subscribe it. We will continue to be, we'll continue to do that and talk with us. Hey, today we're talking about this. I can already tell that people are frustrated with the title of the video. It's a question that's going around on social media, and in terms of the discordance, that's why I wanted to kind of address it and give my thoughts on it. Was Georgia Tech too one-dimensional in the game against Colorado? My quick answer is no. You won the football game, so you can't really be mad. And you can nitpick things. Well, apparently you're not allowed to, but you're able to nitpick things after the fact. But in the moment, you won the football game. You did whatever it took to go win the football game on the road. And I think, Ralph, I probably said that about 55 times on Friday's midnight live stream, but maybe 56, maybe even 33 times. You do whatever needs to happen to win the football game. And you did that. And so that's what is absolutely, that's what matters. Like, that's the bottom line thing. Do whatever you can go win the football game. And Georgia Tech did that. And I told you, I guess we did the show, Ralph, what, Thursday afternoon? Man, what an afternoon of shows. Thursday afternoon, when I sat there and told you that I like Buster Faulkner's creativity as an offensive play caller. At the end of the day, Brent Key is going to be one who wants to be a team that lines up and runs the football down your throat. And that's what he did. And I like that. They were creative within that, though. It wasn't just running it out of the shotgun, running out of the pistol, running out of, by under center. Like, they did it in different ways. And so that's where you see Buster Faulkner's creativity within the run game. So it's absolutely phenomenal. Like, I think that's amazing. I think that it is. I like the way they run the football. I was texting someone this who is not a Georgia Tech fan, like does not like Georgia Tech. And he was telling me, he was like, man, Buster Faulkner's play calling and the way he schemes open run is like one of the best in the country. And this is a guy who, like I said, does not like Georgia Tech, but was watching the game on Friday. And he was like, it's awesome. Like the way that he disguises things, the pre-snap motions, like he's a really good offense coordinator within the confines of what Brent Key wants out of this offense. And it's not that Brent Key, I don't think, wants to be able to pass the football, but when you go into a game against a team that returned a lot of production in terms of up front, of a team that led the conference in sacks last year, and you've got 3 new starters in the offensive line, you've got to be, open to understanding we might have to just do this, win the football game. And it worked, man. You ran for 320 yards. So the question of, we had a lot of this in the Discord there as well. The question of, do you have the ability to do other things? That's going to have to be answered later on in the season. But for one Friday night in Boulder, Colorado, were you too one-dimensional? No. I mean, yeah, you had to be, but you beat them at that. It wasn't like you were one-dimensional and you couldn't do anything. So that to me is kind of where we sit here. Just rewatching the game, looking back at some of the things and reading some of the comments in the comment section. Appreciate all the shows and everything over the weekend as well. It's just one of those things. Like I think that it is really, really, really overlooked the fact that, and Joe the Pilot says it right there, you ran for 3 bills against a Power 4 team. Like, I don't care who it is. That's really, really good. You exerted your dominance by being one-dimensional. So that to me is phenomenal, right? So we put up that first banner. Were you one-dimensional to run heavy, really? Look, I said this on Thursday. Brent Key is going to want to be a run-first football team. With the pieces that you have in place currently, with Haynes King and what he can do with a run game, with the running backs, we're going to talk about that here in a second, of what you have beyond Jamal Haynes, which has me excited, that it predicates everything on being able to run the football. And then you've got receivers that can run the underneath routes, are guys that can get open and make things happen in the screen game and the slants and the short to intermediate routes. That's what they're going to be able to do. Now, I've said this multiple times. I think Georgia Tech is going to be one of the better teams in the country this year when it comes to playing inside the phone booth. They can beat you in the phone booth. And they did that against Colorado on Friday night. Now, people have asked the question, could you do this against Clemson and Georgia? That's where, to me, you've got to be able to show some semblances of stretching the field. We'll get to that in a second. But was it too run-heavy on Friday? Well, sure, by statistical margins, yeah, it was, but it worked. So I wouldn't necessarily be mad that Georgia Tech had to run the football over and over again to win the game, because you did it and you did it pretty well. So too one-dimensional, is it a cause for concern going forward? I'm not concerned, because you're going to win the football game. There will be a time and place where you've got to be able to stretch the field and complete some of those passes and capitalize on a team that maybe doesn't think you can do it. And maybe you get a couple of those shots you convert, and that's what you're able to do. So yeah, that's going to happen at one point or another. That is what it is. So absolutely love that. Before we get into kind of the next conversation, like I said, too run heavy. No, it isn't. But you know what isn't heavy? The new polos from Section 103. Make sure you check out the new polos they've got over there at Section 103. They do a fantastic job. As you see the different stuff they've got going on there. They've got T-shirts. They've got all different types of things there as well. The ATL shirts. They just released the new polos. You can use code TCB10 for 10% off your order right there. The Georgia Tech polos. I'm wearing the first one. They still have some of the more other ones. I'm probably going to try to snag that navy one there in the middle to complement the gold that I've got on. Also, the top left one for LSU fans that come across this somehow is sold out. The purple one is. So you can get all of those, get them in while we still got some warm weather. It's really, really great. Maxwell says his comfort is Peter Millar. No, that's actually not false. Like this is a really high quality polo. You can use code TCB10 there today. So let's talk a little bit about, I guess, did they run the ball too much? Whatever. I mean, I feel like that's just being nitpicky in terms of what they can't do. And Chase was right in this. I'm gonna go back to Chase comment. When they can't stop the run, why would you do anything else? And that's absolutely fair. Nico says, if I was streaking 6 yards per carry, I wouldn't pass again. Absolutely fair. I think the devil's advocate that a lot of people are playing, to me, is the next topic conversation today is how do you unlock the vertical passing game? What are the keys to the vertical passing game? I'll say this, and Ralph and I were talking about this earlier today about the team that I cover in LSU, and I really do think there's a lot of similarities in terms of like the thought processes of things with how both offenses want to do things. Now, very different personnel, very different, caliber of players at different positions. But the question mark you could tell early on, was, Colorado's defensive line, made it tough for Georgia Tech's offensive line at times. Georgia Tech's still trying to find the right combination, I think, of you could honestly say, too. I mean, Joe Fusel was kind of switched in with Harrison Moore at left guard at times. You saw that. Keelan Rutledge looked really, really good, in my opinion. Ethan McKinney turned out to be, had an okay game pass blocking wise. I believe he was and I've got that over here. He is the highest graded pass blocker you had, by the way, 88.6 there for Ethan McKinney. Keelan Rutledge was 79.8. Jamison Riggs had a couple of snaps. How many? He had 6 snaps on the night, 70.4. Malachi Carney, I think, got his feet wet. He was actually, by the way, Malachi Carney on the right tackle spot was your top graded run blocker on the offensive line there as well. Rutledge is up there. Josh Beetham was up there. But you kind of go and you look at the run blocking. If you're going to unlock the passing game with a team that doesn't have the pedigree of throwing the ball down the field like Georgia Tech does, I think one of the biggest keys to that is understanding that they're going to load the box against you because you're not throwing the ball downfield, okay? If you're still beating them at that, then it doesn't matter, and it won't matter. And so that's why people, I mean, I guess we got, whoever George P. Burdell claims to be and wants to use that username, but why people get upset at that is because, well, it's working. And I agree, like, wholeheartedly. Like, it was working 110%. Don't go away from it. Don't try to get too cute, right? But establishing the run was something Georgia Tech is going to do every single time that they take the field under Rentke and under Buster Faulkner, Chris Winkie, and Jeep Wade. They are going to try to establish the run because without that, that is where you would get in complete trouble because passing is not your strength as a team. You're not an air raid offense. That's not what you necessarily even are. So I just think in terms of what you're able to do, you got to be able to establish the run game. Now, what is the key to it? Getting the vertical passing game? A lot of the zone concepts, especially on the outside that Georgia Tech was able to run on Friday night, and a lot of the pre-snap motions, you're going to be able to build off of that. And we didn't necessarily see it take effect on Friday, but I think it's something that now that there's film on the 2025 Georgia Tech team, I don't know how much Gardner Webb is going to be effective against this, but Clemson in 2 weeks, like Clemson has a good front seven, and they're going to be able to look at some things. They're going to start keying in on the tight end motioning in the backfield, motioning the receiver closer to the end line of scrimmage to help block. If you can play off of that, and this is where we go back and see, and I went and watched some of the games last year, Buster Faulkner will use some of those same pre-snap motions, but then it's a pass or then it's play action. So if you're setting up the run game, to me, it's really, in my opinion, important to establish that. So it sounds weird, but the key to the vertical passing game is you have to establish the run because without a run game, you cannot throw the ball downfield because that's not who this team is. I remember we had someone last year laugh at the notion of when I said, you can't just go back there and throw the ball 40 times. Like, that's not who you are as Georgia Tech team. That isn't what it is. So there's not a level of concern that there's not a vertical passing game yet. I think just what the game dictated, you have to be able to do that, and being able to do different things within the season to win games shows off your versatility. Now, and Christian's got a good point here. So, Ralph, let's start that comment there. The vertical passing game for me too. You're going to have to get guys like Eric Rivers involved. Isaiah Canyon's going to be involved in that as well, and other guys too. The second part of this portion of the key to the vertical passing game is, I believe, with what we've just talked about, there was an immediate sense of we kind of have to protect this offensive line from itself, because it wasn't, and like I said, it wasn't necessarily the offensive line was bad. They were just a little bit shaky. Harrison Moore struggled with snapping, which we had kind of predicted that could be an issue in terms of just getting his feet wet starting at center. Doesn't mean he's out. You had to put in the backup, obviously, there and move Moore over to guard. I think Moore's going to be a good player for Georgia Tech. It's just a matter of getting more reps. But you had an offensive line that struggled at times. And the worst thing that you can do against a team that was the leading sack-getting team. Why do I keep saying this like this, Ralph? The leading sack-getting squad in the Big 12 last year, and they've got some twitchy athletic guys up front. What's the best way to protect that? Quick hitting plays. So it's the screen pass, it's the RPO game, it's the quick hitting run plays that don't allow them to get upfield and make plays as a defensive line. So I think it was a little bit of, hey, let's don't put ourselves in a bad position. We think we can win this game. We think we're the more talented team. Let's play to our strengths and make them beat us at it. And I think that's what they did. And they did a good job of that. So it's not an overwhelming, I'm concerned that they can't throw the ball. I'm not. I think there's a portion of that. This offensive line just needs to gel more, and I think you've got a great opportunity to do that on Saturday before you step into back into Bobby Dodd the next Saturday and play Clemson. So it's a little bit of, hey, we're not going to try to throw the ball 20-plus yards down the field because our offensive line is still gelling. Let's do what's comfortable and what works, especially on the road in a big atmosphere, in a game that commands a lot of attention that you need to win. So I think just in general for me, it's not a massive concern. The key to the vertical passing game is your offensive line's got to play a little bit better. You've got to establish the run. And it's way too early to tell, but what type of separation can these receivers create? I thought they did a pretty good job of that when they had opportunities. I think you've got some really good athletes at the wide receiver position. I still think Isaiah Canyon is going to be a big part of this offense. I think it's just a little bit of let's pump the brakes on they can't pass because, like I said, the game dictated what had to happen, and it went to what your strengths were, and that is Georgia Tech is the better running, in-your-face football team than Colorado was. Outside of social media experts, but I don't think anybody would have questioned that coming into the game. Like that's what Georgia Tech's bread and butter is. It played to that. And that's where you're going with it. So I loved the fact that they stuck with it and they didn't try to get too cute. They didn't try to dance out of something. And to a lot of the fans, over here as well, you didn't try to do something that could shoot yourself in the foot, especially after the turnovers that you had. You stayed true to what you were about and you won the football game. And now you've got to develop other aspects because, like I said, you can't necessarily do this every single game against everybody and expect to win, especially when the competition jumps up big time. I'm looking at Clemson and Georgia right now on the schedule. We'll see what happens later on. If you get into a playoff atmosphere, it's who knows? It's just that game dictated that you were able to do that. So I like that I like that there as well. I'm going to say something too here, Ralph. Before we get to this, I wanted to address the comment. So I tweeted out on Friday about Haynes King. And I said, Haynes King is going to be in a full body cast if they don't, I can't remember verbatim the tweet, but it was like Haynes King is going to be in a full body cast if they keep this up. That somehow, I think first off, to the casual observer who doesn't watch anything and just reads or listens to what people tell them, it's a shot necessarily at Haynes King. It's not. The kid is Haynes King is everything that Georgia Tech fans love about football. It's what Brent Key loves. It's a guy who lays his body on the line. I don't think Haynes King cares about – I genuinely believe this. I don't think that Haynes King cares about anything other than winning every single game on his schedule. I don't think about – I don't think he cares about one individual accolade, one individual season stat, one individual – whatever. The word individual to me is not even in his vocabulary. He is the ultimate team player and only cares about this team being better and this program being better than when he got here. And Georgia Tech fans love him for that. I think I love the guy. Like, and Ralph can attest to this. We talked about this in our group text a lot over the past weekend. That kid is a rare commodity in college football because he has stayed the course. He had a chance to leave last year, didn't leave. And it's a guy who literally lays, like, it's just such a difference from where you see recruits nowadays who care about the me, and the flashiness. Haynes King doesn't care about that. It is the perfect marriage for what they want in this terms of this. So here's the tweet. Haynes King is going to be in a full body cast by week 5 if they keep this up. You cannot run him that much and he stay healthy. Now, it's not a knock against Aaron Philo. I think Philo can be really good for you. I don't want to figure out right now if Aaron Philo, though, can go win a playoff game for you or go win an ACC title for you. Let's have that conversation next year. Let's get the most out of Haynes King we can. Let's have the most full effectiveness of Haynes King that we have. And while I wholeheartedly believe that everything about him is great, let's don't run this guy into the ground and risk what this season could be at the expense of being a team player. Someone has to step up in that category. Now, it's why that I really, really like and I'm starred Tony's comment. I'm going to get to that at the end of the show, Ralph. It's why I really like the emergence of Malachi Hosley, what he was able to do. I think once you get Chad Alexander back, that's going to be a big piece. But Malachi helping Jamal Haynes is a massive storyline coming out of this game, being able to run the football outside of him. So to that tweet, Haynes King is going to carry the football for you. He is a playmaker. You're going to let him do that. But I think the biggest thing of it is he cannot. I mean, guys, the dude was literally, not limping, but I don't know what the right word is for it. Like holding his hip, holding his back, heading back into the huddle. Love the dude. I love the mentality of what that brings. He's a warrior. Every single fan should love him. This should be a united take across the Georgia Tech fan base. Everybody should love that. What you shouldn't love is the fact that your quarterback has to do that. We like that he's willing to. You shouldn't love the fact that he has to do that. And I think we saw glimpses on Friday night that he might not have to do that this year. If you get Malachi and you get Jamal rolling, if you get a third running back going, it alleviates so much of the pressure, and you get that passing attack going as extensions of the run game, which Buster Faulkner continues to try to do. That is the absolute perfect recipe for getting to Charlotte and winning an ACC title. Keeping him as healthy as possible, because you need, in order for Georgia Tech to make the playoff, this is where I don't think people understand. If you have an issue with that comment and you don't understand that, in order for Georgia Tech to get the playoff, you need the most effective version of Haynes King. So it's not a knock to say you can't just run the guy into a brick wall for 60 minutes over and over again, because you're not going to get the most effective version of him. Regardless if he goes in the training room and says, "Coach, no, I'm good." Goes into Brent Key's office and said, "No, I'm going to play." That kid's going to say, "Yes, put me back in," every single time. And you love him for that. But you shouldn't love the fact that you have to go do that. Let's get some more weapons. Let's see more guys emerge and go from there. And I think they have that. I think we saw some of that on Friday. Gardner-Webb is going to be the ultimate training ground for a lot of these guys to prove as they go into week 3 and another massive matchup that you can go do that. So I think that is exactly kind of where we sit with that. Okay, that was what I wanted to say about Haynes King there. I mean, his will to win is ridiculous, and I love it. Absolutely love it there as well. One more thing I wanted to say on this, Ralph. I didn't put banners in for it. I'm sorry about this. Well, we can go and put that. The transfers. Okay. Let's talk about this. The transfers shine. I'll be real with you. I was kind of looking at some of this in terms of just the grades that you have. We talked about Malachi Hosley, this phenomenal pickup. We wondered, hey, how does it translate in terms of being the Ivy League Offensive Player of the Year? And in terms of the ACC, looked good in game 1. Now, a lot of you saying, well, why'd you doubt him? Well, because it's a legitimate question to ask, because everything's just not a foregone conclusion because you hope it is. So it happened on Friday. That's one data point. Let's see how he builds off of it. If Hosley has a big game on Saturday, he is primed to go against the Clemson offense, and I'll tell you a little bit of that, to be honest with you, there as well. I don't know what is happening in the comments, by the way, with you, Ralph, but I'm not going to ask. If you're live, you're watching it, it's interesting. Did you put yourself in the show or something? Are people seeing what you're talking about?
I'm over here on YouTube commenting myself, but there is someone actively trying to break into their car because they locked their keys out with a rock. Instead of calling a locksmith, this is
you
what's going on.
commented it. Okay, I was like, did you put
Yes.
yourself in the show people saw? I'm sorry about that. Going back to it there, Hazi was 7 for 47 in rushing yards. He graded out, by the way, in the run game as a 67. He graded out run blocking 69.3. Folks, that is another key to unlocking that vertical passing game is his ability to block, not only the pass, but in the run as well. So love Hazi in that situation. We talked about some of the other guys as well in terms of who kind of looked good. JT Byrne, I think, is going to be someone that I don't know if he's going to be what you had last year because last year was just really, really good at the tight end position. Shout out, shout out Ralph's Buffalo Bills. But I think he's going to be pretty serviceable in that category. Just kind of continue to go down the line. Other guys that maybe didn't grade out phenomenally, but I think that you're going to really like. Eric Rivers, did really good. By the way, 70. He was your highest graded offensive player, just 2 points ahead of, by the way, Haynes King, or I should say 0.2 points, 76.4 there for Eric Rivers. A couple of guys that just come to mind. Vandenberg needed help. We knew that. I think Akilo Stone he's going to be good. Like Akilo Stone is the guy that they needed to go get, and I'm glad they got him. I really like that addition, not addiction. We don't like addiction. Someone mentioned, I think it was Nick in the Discord about, and Ralph, you can start starring comments because I'll get to some Q&A right after this, about Braden Manley. Look, guys, Jordan Seaton for Colorado is really good. Like, he probably going to be a round 1 pick. So that's not a massive surprise. I really, really like Braden Manley still. I don't think I'm out on him. Jordan Seaton's just really good. Like, you got to tip your cap. He just looked good. And I think even Nick said this, and I agree with him. And Nick and I don't agree on much. But I think it's one of those things where I love you, Nick. I'm just messing with you. But I think it's one of those things where you win against, and Nico says right here, under a 5-star, you're an FCS guy who goes against one of the top, tackles in the Big 12. Like that's really, really difficult. Like that's not some easy thing there. So I like that. Cayman Spalding, I mentioned this on Friday night in the Instant Reaction show. This linebacker room, y'all. Okay, I'm trying to temper my expectations of what this defense can do. I think this defense can be very good in 2025. Cayman Spalding's awareness, his play, way he plays, the speed he plays, it's Charlie Thomas like. Now we've got to get more reps. That's where I said TD Jake said, the speed at linebacker is that you need that, and that's something where when you start to compare. We'll talk about this more next week in the Clemson game because I got a chance to watch them up close and personal this past weekend. I've got a lot of thoughts on that game already. But just in totality, you've got an opportunity at the linebacker position to be really good in tons of interchangeable parts. That to me is interesting. So it's going to be. I like that. I like that a lot. So we'll see. What's on in the background? What's happening? Is something happening on my screen, Ralph? It has anything to do with me? Okay. What are we doing here on a Monday at lunch? Got to go eat some blueberries. All right, so I like Cayman Spalding. Jai Gilbert is going to be good. I was talking with someone who's close to Jai Gilbert. They loved him during fall camp, and he brings a presence back there on the back end of the defense. And I've said this multiple times, folks. Like, you didn't have playable depth last year. It was LaMiles Brooks and Clayton Powell-Lee. And even go back 2 years ago, you had Jalen King, so it was essentially 3 guys. You had 2 last year. You've got about 3 to 4, even 5 guys that can go play safety. And that's just something you didn't have. They invest in the back end. Shout out Blake Gideon. Shout out this entire staff. Shout out the front office of Georgia Tech football to be able to willing to understand we've got to go, do some things back there if we're not going to have an elite pass rush. They did. Love Jai Gilmore. What am I saying? Jai Gilmore. Lots of words. Had to wet the whistle there. That'll be a crowded booth out of context right there. Shout out, follow that account. Love the back end of the defense. I'm excited to see what they can do. Amari Harvey, dog mentality. Love the way he plays. Not going to answer that question, Maxwell, but I just in general, I really, really do like. Let's look at a couple more of these defensive grades. I want to go back here. Daquan White. Why did I not? I forgot to shout out Daquan White. Literally just played 17 snaps. Okay. Graded out as the highest overall defensive player, 79.9. Looked pretty good. Playing a little corner. Ronald Triplett, 4 snaps, 74.5. There as well. Akilo Stone, like I mentioned, 29 snaps out of Stone in kind of a rotational defensive tackle position. Listen to these grades. Like, now Ralph can laugh, but this is really, really good. Like, in terms of consistency. I don't read a lot into PFF grades, but when you have consistent numbers across the board, it tells me, hey, you had a pretty good night. 74.1 overall defensively, 75 which was the second best as the defensive in the run defense. He tackled at a clip of 74.6. Pass rush was 61. He's an interior guy. It's okay. Coverage was a 60. I mean, why is a defensive tackle covering? We're not even worried about that. But pretty consistent across the board. And a guy that I have been banging my hand, Brian Kelly style, on the table for, again, E.J. Lightsey. E.J. Lightsey might be the most athletically inclined, talented kid on the defense. Like, he is freaky. E.J. Lightsey, 41 snaps, 73.5 defensive grades, 77.2 in the run game. And folks, you had 2 linebackers. We knew Kyle Eifert could do this. E.J. Lightsey, an 82 grade in tackling. Thank God that we can find some linebackers that can tackle. I absolutely love that. Omar Daniels, someone mentioned, had a good game. Savion Riley had a good game, 10 snaps there. Zachary Toby, 44 snaps. Matthew Alexander, 30 snaps. John Mitchell, Kelvin Hill had 19. Clayton Powell-Lee, 55. I mentioned Jai Gilmore, thought he had a good game, 47 snaps. Amari Harvey. But you can kind of see the snap counts. You didn't have to play. God, guys, do you remember 2-3 years ago? You literally played like 5 defensive backs for 5,000 snaps a game. Like, it was the most ridiculous thing in the world. You have depth. You can rotate. It's something Georgia Tech, a storyline that I don't know if you have stars there, but you've got really good depth at all those positions there as well. Christian Garrett gets 4 snaps. Cayman Spalding, like the speed. Andre Fuller Jr., really kind of his first true action, 38 snaps there on the road. Braden Manley, 43. Jason Moore, 24. Jordan Boyd, 24. And then Melvin Jordan, 17 snaps. So did our backup edge rushers pass the whole game? I'd have to go through and look at a while, but you had a pretty decent you had Garrett had 4. You had Manley, 43. You had Boyd, 24. Triplett had 4. I mean, they just rotated. And I think a lot of it was just depending on what you saw. Like, I don't even know. And this is a good question someone might ask, or knowing the pressers, nobody will ask this. But, that was unnecessary shade at some good friends. I apologize. But you go in with a game plan defensively, and I kind of think they rotated so much because of Colorado was kind of all over the place offensively. Like, they would do some things and they'd shoot themselves in the foot, and then you'd make a good play, but then they'd get a big play. And so it's just kind of like this weird, there was no rhythm to me with the Colorado offense. I'm not saying they just lucked into points, but there wasn't like where they got into like this rhythm a couple of times, but it didn't last very long. So it is for me too. I like it a lot. That's kind of my take, I guess, with those things there as well. You got to get Rodney Shelley back from injury. You want to get AJ Hoffler. Malik Rutherford, you want to get him back from injury as well. But overall, and Ralph, we'll get to some of the questions we round out the show here. Went a lot longer than I wanted to, but it is what it is. I love the game. Did Georgia Tech play their A+ game? No. Did they play their A game? No. Did they play their B game? I'd say this is probably a B. I lied. B- B effort from Georgia Tech, and you still won. And so it is awesome. Like, I absolutely love that. So I appreciate it. It's really, really awesome to see what Georgia Tech was able to do. You gotten to win. We'll talk on Thursday night with you, by the way, live here on the channel about the Gardner Webb game, and just maybe 3 things I want to see. That'll be the title of that show. What I want to see. Georgia Tech should win that game. And, no doubt about it. But it'll be interesting to kind of see where we're going in terms of what that game is. And man, I'll say this to tease next week's slate of shows. you got a winnable game at home against Clemson. You really, really do. I don't think Georgia Tech's defense anywhere near the caliber of where LSU's is, but you've got a really good opportunity to get a massive win and truthfully put you in the driver's seat to go to Charlotte. Like, that's what that game is. So let's get to a couple questions here, Ralph, a couple comments. I'm so sad George left, right? It's unfortunate. It happens. Trevor goes, I'm worried Haynes King's shoulder's already hurt from the Colorado game. The way he ran off the field after his last touchdown looked funky to me. I mean, the dude had to go get some treatment. That's for sure. We'll see. I don't know. The 4th-1 fullback dive under center was sweet. Looked like a CPJ for a second. Yeah, no, that was. I like that. King season. My problem is that Haynes King isn't last a 12-game season running 20 times again, but I'm not going to jump to conclusions and say we're too one-dimensional. It's one game we could very well have run because of the turnovers. No doubt. That's another aspect of their it's just crazy to me. People can't just understand where you're coming from with this. But when people have their mind made up about you as a person, they're not going to be willing to listen to anything else. So Goldfella, GT needs to be able to pass. The run worked and they stuck with that. The question is, could they have passed if they needed to? That is a great question. If they were in a situation where they had to, pass, and I think that's why, truthfully, if you would have gotten to a shootout, it would have favored Colorado a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see. That's a good question. Good question. You have to out-scheme the defense to open the vertical passing game for this team, in my opinion. Yeah, you do. I mean, I think you got weapons, but you've really, and Buster Faulkner could do it, but we'll see kind of where he goes with that. A couple more here before we get out of here. Vandenberg made his presence known. Yeah, man. He's good. I mentioned, I think I said last Thursday, I think he could be an all-ACC player for you this year. Like, he's really good in the middle. Chase said pass block seemed suspect in the first half, seemed to get better as the game went. More wide receiver sweeps to Rivers, please. He seems to be a big play waiting to happen. No doubt about it. And to your point, like we talked about, Chase, and I know this comment probably came when we talked about it, I think they did a lot of this quick hitting stuff, the screens, the sweeps, all those kind of things to help the offensive line. You want to help out where you feel like you were struggling. They were struggling, like you said, a little bit in the first half with that, and that's kind of where you went with it. So I'm with you. I'd much rather roll with Moore at center. Snap the ball can be fixed. Struggling with the pass pro and run block is what's important right now. Moore is the better blocker on both facets, says King Season. Could be. Christian, but if GT wants to be a run-heavy team or heavy run team, we'd like to see our running backs get 100-plus yards, not our quarterback. King won't finish the season if he's our quarterback and running back getting over 100 yards. Christian, I know you get blasted a lot in the comment sections of stuff, but this is very true, and I am with you. It's playing the devil's advocate, I guess, of this, of like, it's great. I just don't know if you can do that. Like, let's just be real. I don't know if you can go do this and win a national title. If that's what, because that's what Georgia Tech fans want, right? They want to go to the playoff. They want to win a national title. I don't know if you can win the ACC doing it. I think you can. Beyond that is where it becomes a little bit fuzzy for me. So I'm not sure. Wrong bottle of water. So good stuff, Christian. This week is a get right and get healthy week. No, you're right. No, right. You're right. With what we saw, Tony says, is Clemson considered winnable? Yes, Tony. We'll talk a lot. We're going to ultimate preview week coming next week off of that one. I'm excited about it. GT Faithful says our center needs to practice some extra snaps this week. No doubt. Football is a team effort. We should never rely on one player. Totally agree there, JR. Totally agree. The first hurdle is scheming more running back handoffs. The second is allowing King to recognize it's okay to let the backs have the ball. They're very capable. Yeah, I think he's aware. I don't think it's a selfishness thing. I think it's just he's a playmaker, man. He wants the ball in his hands. So Omar Daniels looked really, really good too. Yes, Dr. Bob says Blake Gideon won't be our DC for long. Nico with the final comment. He goes, GT gives off the impression they are very insecure as a fan base. They really aren't sure about Key, but they want him to work so bad they will do mental gymnastics to make him seem good. That's interesting. That is interesting. Is there an update on Rutherford's health? He went out early in the game and came back late in the game. No, but I can tell you this. Let me look at something real quick. So today's Labor Day, obviously. Media stuff and schools closed and everything. No, nothing like that. Let me go back to this. Ralph, I'm on another tab, so I can't see what's going on. We got the email today. So tomorrow at noon, Brent Key will speak to the media. 9:15, around that time, media will be allowed to watch some of the practice there as well. I don't know if the rules have changed since I've been there. I don't know if the rules have changed since I've been there. I know it was a very unique situation at Georgia Tech. Like, you weren't really allowed to report things. Honest to God, you weren't really allowed to do your job as a reporter half the time with some of the constraints you had on yourself. So that being said, I think that you just have a situation of where Key's going to speak to the media. Could media see and post if he wasn't there? They could. If Rutherford's off to the side, it'll be interesting there as well. Ralph, you should go to practice.
Auburn.
He said Auburn. He's going to Auburn's practice tomorrow. A lot of things week one. Let's get this one and get out of here. And Dennis, appreciate you watching. A lot of things in week one that went wrong are easy to fix. You got out with a win. A lot can be improved. That's what's the most important. This is the best way to put it. Best way to put it. I absolutely love it. Hey, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. We appreciate everyone watching. Make sure before we get out of here that you check out our friends over at All Natural BS. It's the bug spray that really, really works, providing effective chemical-free solutions for your home, garden, patio. It's tailgate season. Make sure you're protecting your family and your friends out there as well as you get it. You need to get it. Use code TCB15 for 15% off your order today. This is Storm Talk, brought to you by Section 103 and All Natural BS. Shout out to Ralph in the background. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Impromptu show. We got over 200 people watching live on all the platforms, so we appreciate it. Joe the Pilot says that stuff tastes good for real. That's crazy. And we will catch you next time. We'll see you tonight, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. College football will be discussed. And we will talk maybe a little bit about Georgia Tech, but I know we're going to talk a lot of Bama, a lot of LSU, and some other things. So make sure to pile on in. As Richard Leary says, pile on in and make yourself at home. We'll see you at 7:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Bryce Koon. That's Ralph Leary, and we'll catch you next time here on the Crowd with Swim Talk. Thanks, bye.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.